is Denver Clark, and I am a lead trainer at Heartwood Yoga Institute. I'm also an ERYT 500-hour teacher and a licensed massage therapist in the state of Florida. Today we'll be discussing and introducing some concepts about the subtle body, which is one of the most important elements to our yoga practice. Let's begin. According to the Bhagavad Gita, one of the most sacred texts in Hinduism and yoga, the subtle body is composed of mind, intelligence, and ego, which controls the gross physical body. And according to various beliefs, each subtle body corresponds to a plane of existence. And there are many layers of subtle bodies in this hierarchy or chain of being that culminates in the physical form. We can liken this to common beliefs that potentially negative thoughts can create illness in the body, and various physical situations can result in mental issues, right? And in all these different spiritual traditions that have their own take on the subtle body, we see a myriad of different names for the subtle body, some of which include the most sacred body from Sufism, or the true or genuine body. You may be hearing it called the diamond body in Taoism, or the light body or rainbow body in Buddhism, the body of bliss in Kriya Yoga, or the immortal body. And all of these are names for essentially the same concept of this subtle existence that we have of energy that runs throughout us. Whether yogic, tantric, Hindu, Buddhist, or Chinese Taoist, all theories of the subtle body mention us having a number of focal points. These may be called chakras, acupressure points, or marma points. And these points are connected by a series of channels which have various names. We hear nadis, or meridians, or sen lines. And these channels convey a subtle breath of life force, which has various names. We hear the word prana in our yogic tradition, vayu, or chi, or even lung. And through various physical breathing and visualization exercises, they say we should be able to manipulate and direct the flow of this vital force. And in many traditions, there is a belief that we can achieve supernormal powers, and these are referred to as siddhis. And this helps us attain higher states of consciousness, immortality, or liberation. One of the most important layers of the subtle body to begin discussing when we're practicing yoga is the 5 koshas. The 5 koshas are the layers of existence that each person is believed to have had, and it's sort of like the layers of an onion. Early mentions of the subtle body, or in Sanskrit, Sukshma Sharira, appear in the Upanishads, particularly the Taittiriya Upanishad, which was written about 4th or 5th century BCE. And we see reference in this Upanishad writing of this theory of the 5 bodies or selves. And each one of these is increasingly subtle in awareness. We have Annamaya Kosha, which is the physical layer, the structure of our body. Beneath that we have Pranamaya Kosha, which is the energetic layer. Underneath the energetic layer we have Manomaya Kosha, which is the thought processes, or our monkey mind. Manas means mind in Sanskrit. And beneath our thoughts, we have our intellect, where we can see through our emotions and our triggers to what's truly real. And this is called Vijnamaya Kosha, or the intellect layer. And then the deepest layer is Anandamaya Kosha, or the bliss body. And the idea is that we can move through these layers from the physical to the energetic, to the emotional, to the intellectual. And by moving through these layers systematically, we reach this state of enlightenment or bliss. So the first layer is Annamaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha is the structural existence of our body. It's the shell that we're walking around in. It's our skin, muscles, connective tissue, fat, and bones. And in this state, quite a few people live their entire existence. I'm hungry, I'm sleepy, I'm itchy, I'm in chronic pain. Those of us who suffer from chronic pain might be stuck in Annamaya Kosha because there's nothing else that we can find a way to distract from the pain, right? So a lot of people, sadly, are stuck in this physical existence. But underneath that, there's pranamaya kosha. Prana is life force, and this is controlled in many instances through the breath, but it's not exclusively breath. This is all transference of energy. So if you take into consideration the fact that when we breathe in, we're breathing in molecules of oxygen. Those molecules of oxygen are then transmitted into the bloodstream. The bloodstream carries them throughout the body and it feeds our cells so we can stay alive. So there's a connection between anything in the body that creates movement, the cardiovascular system, the respiratory system, the lymphatic system. All of our spiritual bodily rhythms of movement happen in pranamaya kosha, and we can help to control that movement through the breath, because if I'm changing my rate of breath, I'm changing the amount of oxygen molecules coming into the body, which affects the cardiovascular system and so on. Pranamaya kosha is the breath or the energy layer. Beneath that we have manomaya kosha. Manas means mind in Sanskrit. So this is the mind layer. This is where we find our emotions, our 5 senses. Our nervous system lives here, our brain synapses, the triggers that we have on a daily basis if we've experienced trauma or habitual patterns of being. This is the space in which we move from physical feeling to emotional feeling. And quite a few people get to this depth, and they're ruled by their emotions. And those triggers that we have and our perception of right and wrong and good and bad is all shaped by our experience, which means it's not the truth, it's only our truth, not universal truth, because everything that we think and feel is created by our personal experience throughout our life. And some people only get that far. Manomaya kosha is where they live, and they maybe don't take responsibility for their actions. Maybe they do, but they're kind of stuck in, oh, this is a trigger, I have to remove myself. Oh, I can't handle this, right? But underneath the manomaya kosha, or the monkey mind, is vijnamaya kosha. This is our intellect, and the word for intellect is buddhi in Sanskrit. This is our awareness, our insight, consciousness, intention. This is where we're able to move from ego, which is in the manomaya kosha, to understanding. It's observation without emotion, without attachment. And non-attachment is a very big concept in yoga. So I like to move through these layers as an example in a restorative practice. I talk about this often. Let's consider that you are in chronic pain, your lower back is hurting you from work, and you can't think about anything else. And that chronic pain makes you irritable, has an effect on your manomaya kosha. And you come to a restorative class, and I'm able to help you find a comfortable position for the first time in a long time. So you settle down onto bolsters and blankets in this supported posture where you're finally able to turn your attention away momentarily from your physical layer. And as you lay there, you start to think, oh, now I'm starting to notice my breath. And because I've been in chronic pain, perhaps your breath maybe has been shallow or strained, and that has an effect on your heart and your brain, and therefore your nervous system and the rest of your body. And so deeper and deeper inward, these things are connected. So if you're laying there finally comfortable, not distracted by your physical being or your annamaya kosha, and you become aware of your patterns of breath in pranamaya kosha, and you make a conscious choice to change your rate of breath. Maybe I should calm down. Maybe I should slow down my breath. And you start to find the ability to manipulate movement of energy in the body. And in that space, you are deep enough and still enough that thoughts pop up into your head. This happens in meditation as well. And these thoughts live in manomaya kosha. These are things that have happened throughout the day, little inconveniences that happened on my way to class. Maybe I'm upset with a family member, and these thoughts are running through my head, and I'm ruminating on these thoughts. If I'm able to see these thoughts as they are and not attach to them and not follow them down the rabbit hole, but just let them kind of float up and go, well, that's interesting. What if I practice non-attachment to those thoughts? In that state, I'm able to dive deeper inward to a harder place to reach, which is that vijnamaya kosha. Vijnamaya kosha is giving yourself enough space and stillness to sit with the thoughts and the triggers that we usually push away or we react quickly to, and to say, okay, well, let me examine this. Let me think about what's really true here. What part did I have to play in this saga? Or is this something that's really going to harm me or my loved ones? Or am I just having anxiety about something that's not really that big of a deal? And so in this little restorative posture, over the course of 10 minutes, we've been able to kind of practice diving deeper and deeper inward. I'm physically comfortable. I'm aware of my breath. Now I can feel my thoughts because I'm not distracted by the physical. Now I can examine those thoughts and see the deeper meaning beneath them, or the truth beneath them. And if I'm able to get through these first 4 layers, then I can tap into the 5th kosha, the deepest kosha, which is Anandamaya kosha. Anandamaya kosha comes from the word Pananda with a P, which means bliss. This is the bliss body. This is our connection. This is where we find enlightenment or liberation from suffering. This is where our causal body lives. And so I can do this on a large scale, one time throughout my life, diving deeper and deeper inward into awareness and enlightenment. It's not that things don't bother me. It's not that I'm not pulled back out into the physical or into the emotional. But if I practice the ability to dive in over and over and over again throughout these layers, it becomes easier. It becomes second nature to go, okay, let's take a moment to pause and let's dive inward. And we see this inverse relationship where if I'm not connected to my intellect, or if I have negative thought processes, that manifests in a strained breath and blockages in my blood and lymphatic system, in my cerebral spinal fluid. That creates physical ailment. So it works both ways. If I change the physical self, I can dive deeper layer by layer and get to Vijnanamaya kosha and to this space of awareness. If I reach this space of awareness and I start to remove the blockages in the Manomaya kosha and in the Pranamaya kosha, my physical body will sometimes also respond. So people may find that they are able to alleviate physical pain by addressing intellectual issues or mind layer thoughts issues or patterns of behavior. And this is the beauty of the Panchamaya kosha model. And yoga therapy is where we see this model come into play, because when somebody comes in presenting with an issue, we say, okay, yes, maybe your issue is low back pain, but let's consider energetically what is maybe affecting that or creating that pain. Let's consider the thought processes that you have. Let's consider how do we get you into this place of consciousness, awareness, observation, non-attachment. And if we're dealing with issues of the mind, if I'm dealing with chronic issues of anxiety or depression, perhaps addressing some physical issues or doing a physical asana practice can help alleviate the mind stuff, and it works both ways. We have the ability to move through these states of awareness all throughout the day, hundreds of thousands of times. For example, I feel hot. It's a physical sensation. I'm aware of my breath sitting in Pranamaya kosha layer. I feel upset. This is where I have my triggers and my emotions in Manomaya kosha. Now I understand why I acted that way. Or I feel bliss in this moment. Everything is right with the world. And so we can do this on the small scale thousands of times a day. We can do it on the larger scale throughout our journey through the practice of yoga as well.